Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to be giving you my best quarterback starts, running back starts, wide receiver starts, and tight end starts of the week. I might even throw in a couple of defenses in there today. But looking down right now at the games, there's a lot of good quarterback matchups with terrible pass defenses. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, he's going up against Indy's defense, and they give up most points probably to a second wide receiver in the league. I mean, Vontae, he sometimes locks down the best wide receiver. So it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, I would start Roethlisberger this week. I mean, he tore the Colts up last year, threw for 500-some yards, a lot of touchdowns. It was ridiculous. Looking down, another guy I like is Ryan Fitzpatrick against the Giants secondary. Giants secondary is terrible. They let Drew Brees have 500-plus yards, 7 touchdowns earlier on this season. The Saints aren't even doing that good. But then again, Saints on the other side let up Eli Manning having 400-plus yards and 6 touchdowns. So either way, that was just a garbage game. But I would expect Fitzpatrick to at least have maybe 2 to 3 touchdown passes. He should exceed 300 passing yards. Giants let up 300 yards a game like it's their job. Looking down, I like Tannehill, Cutler, Bortles, and Mariota. They're all going to have solid weeks. I mean, their potential to go off is just as high as anybody else's. It's just because I like Bortles more than most of those guys because he's going to be throwing the ball a lot more. The Titans' run defense is excellent. They're not going to let up a lot of rushing yards at all. Expect Mariota to use his legs more now, too. Andy Dalton, he's going to have a good week this week. He had a great week last week against the Rams. He's going to have a greater week this week against the Browns. And they're going to get the ball back a lot, especially with Austin Davis starting. Speaking of which, former Ram. Cam Newton going against that terrible Saints defense. Yeah. Everybody's expecting him to go a lot higher than what it's probably going to be. I mean, look at how Brian Hoyer did. Everybody expected Brian Hoyer to toss a lot. He did good in the first half. Second half, he didn't do crap. Brady's going to have a good game. Everybody's thinking, oh, Brady's not going to do too much with Gronk out and Amendola possibly still being out with the injury. I mean, he's got LaFell. He's got Scott Chandler. Scott Chandler's underrated. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to start him this week in a couple leagues. And then Alex Smith is probably my sleeper pick of the week. They're going against Oakland. And Oakland, we saw what they allowed Pittsburgh to do. D'Angelo Williams had 177 rush yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Antonio Brown had 230 yards, 17 receptions. He went off. So that's a game I'm going to be looking at this week is Kansas City and Oakland, seeing who I can get on either side. Kansas City's secondary is not too good. Their linebacking core is pretty good, so I'm going to stay away from Latavius Murray. But games I'm staying away from this week, Seattle and Minnesota. 2 great defenses. Seattle ain't running the ball in Minnesota. Minnesota ain't running the ball in Seattle. There's going to be no passing going on. Maybe Jermaine Kearse gets a couple balls. That's a sneaky play, I'm thinking. I'm going to stay away from Green Bay and Detroit, too. We saw how that first game went down. I'm not expecting it to be the exact same, but Green Bay isn't Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has been injured. He said he lost feeling in his hand on Thursday when he played, but he stayed in anyways. And I'm also going to avoid New Orleans and Cleveland teams. I'm not going to start anybody from any of those teams. They're going to get swamped. Yeah, they're going to get garbage points, whatever, but no. They're not going to have a big game. Some running backs I'm going to look at that are going to have a great week this week. D'Angelo Williams against my Colts. We can't stop the run. Colts cannot stop the run at all. We lost our rookie up front, and then our linebacking core DeQuell Jackson, he's good. I think Freeman's going to be out this week. We still don't have Mike Adams back. He might be coming back this week. I'm not entirely sure yet. But we can't stop the run. We did an okay job with the pass last week, but still I would expect secondary wide receiver Martavius Bryant. He's going to have a good week too. Eddie Lacy is the one player from Green Bay I'm probably looking at this week. Lions, they're going to shut down Aaron Rodgers passing-wise. That's going to be their main focus. And with Eddie Lacy getting his fresh legs back, he's going to have a pretty good game. If not, I'd look for James Starks as a sneaky play out of that backfield. He might catch a screen pass and go 80 yards for a touchdown. Who knows? Couple other guys I like this week. Chris Ivory, LaShawn McCoy, Jeremy Hill. He's injured right now, but a lot of people aren't going to look at him. He's questionable. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I think we'll know later on this week, but I would start him this week against the Browns. Yeah, Bernard and him split carries. It's disaster in that backfield, but Jeremy Hill gets the bulk of the carries, and last week he looked like the Jeremy Hill of old. Buck Allen. That man had a good week this week. He did okay. I mean, he didn't get 100-plus yards. I needed 40 points from him to win in one league, but he didn't, but who cares? Sean Drawn, PPR point scorer. He gets receptions. Blaine Gabbert loves throwing to him. Start him. Doug Martin, he's going against Atlanta's poor run defense. Start him. There's just a lot of great running back matchups this week. I don't think you can go wrong with most of them, except for maybe a hit or miss like Eddie Lacy or Todd Gurley. Gurley hasn't been playing the best he has of this year, but I feel like he's still an elite running back. He can go off any minute. Like Adrian Peterson, first game of the year, he didn't do so hot. Now what's he doing? He's leading the league. Devonta Freeman is back practicing this week, so I would expect him to play. And I would start him. A lot of people probably aren't going to have him. Either that or a lot of people are going to have him. It's either way. But Tampa, their defense isn't so hot, but their linebacking core is pretty good. So I'd expect them to consistently get about 6-10 yards carry coming off an injury. Jonathan Stewart and Chandrick West, especially Chandrick West coming back from injury, I would pick him up against Oakland. No doubt. I might have a lineup that consists of Alex Smith, Chandrick West, Jeremy Maclin, Travis Kelce. I mean, I would load up on some Chiefs this week. They are going to explode. And my sleeper of the week, Darren McFadden, especially with Matt Castle back at the helm. They're going to be running the ball a lot. He's going to get 20-plus carries, and he's going to get some check downs because Matt Castle can't throw the deep ball like he used to. And then Matt Forte is my starter of the week. Coming off last week's mediocre game, being injured for previous 4 weeks, I think it was. Jeremy Langford took over. I think Matt Forte is fighting for a starting job there in Chicago. So I look for him to explode this week. Probably 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches. I don't know. That might be asking too much, but he can do it. We've all seen him do it in the past. On to wide receivers. I have so many wide receivers I'm looking at this week. There's so many great matchups. But some of the guys I really like this week is at the higher end, Odell Beckham. He's going to have another great week this week. He's setting records for second-year players. Even last year he set records for being a rookie. I mean, he had a better year than T.O. when T.O. was a rookie, and his second year. He had a better year than Jerry Rice did in his first 2 years, these 2 years. DeAndre Hopkins, nobody's going to be on him this week. Get him. Nobody else is going to do the work this week. Hopkins is going to have a big game. Get on him. If you can't afford him, then there are receivers you can buy down that are still going to have good games. But Hopkins, he's going to have a good game. Nobody is going to own him. His owning percentage is going to be down. I'm expecting probably 2%, maybe. Another guy I'm looking at, Jarvis Landry. He's in like the 6,600 range. He had a good week last week. I expect him to have another good week this week, especially with the Dolphins firing their offensive coordinator. He's going to have a good week. Alshon Jeffrey is going to have a good week. Antonio Brown, I'd expect him to go off too. AJ Green. Just guys you can stack with your quarterback. My number one stack of the week, probably Andy Dalton, AJ Green, followed by a Brady Scott Chandler stack. A sneaky one, Alex Smith, Jeremy Maclin stack. Cam Newton, Devin Funchess stack. That is a sneaky play in my mind, but you'll get points, don't worry. Funchess against that secondary, no problem. Amendola. If Amendola comes back this week, I would start him. I would start Chandrick West. Start some guys that are questionable. Nobody's going to have them. If you have them and they go off, you're expecting big payout, guys. Tight ends this week. Eifert. I'm liking Eifert. Eifert looks to have a good week. It's saying he's questionable. There's a lot of guys questionable this week. I feel like this year there's been more injuries than most. But Eifert, if he plays, I would start him. Julius Thomas coming off a big game last week. I don't expect him to slow down. I feel like he's going to keep going. Him and Allen Robinson. Robinson had a good week last week with Hearns hurt, especially. Thomas is becoming more active in that offense. Delaney Walker. He gets a lot of targets from Mariota. Mariota's comfortable throwing to him, especially since Kendall Wright's been out. He came back last week, but still Walker and Mariota have that chemistry. I would expect Walker to still get a bulk of the targets from Mariota. Greg Olsen, going to have a great week. Saints, defense, garbage. Scott Chandler, Gronk's out. Gronk was Brady's biggest target. People are going to be like, oh, Scott Chandler's not Gronk, but Scott Chandler. A lot of people forget what he did at Buffalo with Fitzpatrick, and he was one of Fitzpatrick's favorite targets back there. And then Antonio Gates is going to have a good week because Phillip Rivers ain't going to be able to throw vertical down the sideline and everything, especially with those two cornerbacks. He's not going to be able to throw vertical. So I expect Gates to cut inside a lot and get a lot more targets. Sneaky play with Jimmy Graham being out. Luke Wilson. I like Luke Wilson this week. He's going to be cheap. He's really low dollared. I expect him to have a really good game this week. I'm not saying 30 freaking points, but he might get 15 to 20, 25. We don't know. But they are playing Minnesota, and Minnesota's got Xavier Rhodes out on the outside, Captain Munnerlyn, Terrence Newman. They're pretty good at cornerback, so I wouldn't expect anything too crazy from the wideouts from Seattle like last week. Doug Baldwin having that 3-touchdown game. But I would look for him to look more inside this week. Slot receiver, more tight end. Defense I like. My number one defense this week is Cincinnati. They're a safe bet all year. Go with Cincinnati. Another one I'm going to like is probably Pittsburgh. I feel like Matt Hasselbeck being 40, maybe it's time for him to... he's 4-0, but Matt Hasselbeck, how long can your luck run? I'm a Colts fan, but I'm not expecting his luck to keep going. And apparently Amendola has returned to practice. I just noticed that. Another defense I like is Kansas City, too, against Oakland. Derek Carr hasn't been at the top of his game so far. And then, of course, you got Denver against San Diego. Phillip Rivers loves to throw those interceptions. And is it bad just to pick on Matt Schaub and pick Miami? Matt Schaub throws just as many touchdowns to the other team as he does his own team. But I'm going to leave you guys with this. Whatever you do, go with your gut. If you don't like anything I've said in this, at least I helped you and making decisions, giving you more guys to think about. But go with your gut. If I went with my gut in week 3, I probably would have won $100,000. But go with your gut. Always go with your gut. Signing off. See you guys.